Okay, so I am excited today to feature a student essay because this made a 9. And this is by my student this year, and I'm in the year 2017, but my student this year, Baranali Dubey. And one of my favorite memories of Baranali is that she was consistently making 8s in my class, but she wasn't satisfied with 8s. Her thing was, how can I make a 9? And she came up and asked me that. And I honestly didn't feel like I could give her an adequate response because it's really hard to explain what it takes to make a 9. So that's one thing I've been kind of working on this year. What's the difference between an 8 and a 9? How can you bump an 8 to a 9? So I did have a discussion with Barnelli about that, and magically it did work. She started going to 9s, and she has consistently made 9s. She's probably made more 9s than any student I have ever taught. So she's consistently taken the 8s to the 9s, which to me is a truly amazing thing. So she's definitely a gifted thinker and writer. That's why I'm calling her a student expert, and I would like to feature her essay today. Now, you've already seen an 8 version of this, which I wrote. I want to show you what Baranali did because I think a lot of you are going to be able to do this with the right kind of practice. Some of you have already used extended metaphors in your writing, but the thing is, even if something is an extended metaphor, if it's sitting at an 8, it's probably not really extended to any great length. Like, it's in part of your paper, but it's not in the whole paper. What Baranali has done here is she has wrapped her entire paper from beginning to end in this extended metaphor. She does break some rules here, and I'm going to point out the rules that she breaks, but remember, a sophisticated writer has earned the right to break some rules. The way that you become respected for breaking the rules rather than reprimanded for breaking the rules is you do so in an artful way. And I think you'll see that Barnali has definitely made those, she's definitely broken those rules in a masterful way. So we can pat her on the back rather than put her down. So here we go. Despite their relentless, misguided assertion that they are the stronger sex, men are actually very weak. They don't bear children, their bodies don't mount a full-out assault against them each month, and most importantly, they are not the ones that have to suffer beneath the agonizing yoke of the patriarchy. Even though these are the facts of life, women in our wonderful wisdom are burdened with pacifying the babies we've been placed on earth with. Okay, in her hook, she's already so smoothly set up this metaphor. Now, the other thing that I want you to notice about this metaphor is that she's broken a rule. I told you that for rhetorical analysis, you should strictly stay in third person, but you see here she's using the royal we, but she's doing it for effect. So what I'm going to tell you is I want to see third person until we've made an agreement that you're trying for that 9 and you have earned the right to try for that 9. She's earned that right. Definitely earned that right. So she's using it for artful effect here, and it does work very well. The other rule that Baranali is breaking is she's got this kind of condescending tone where she's made this very strong assertion that women are actually the stronger sex. And normally I would say, okay, we want to be, gentle and kind. We want to look at the opposition and all that kind of stuff. But this, first of all, is not a synthesis and it's not an argumentation. Secondly, she does this so well that, again, she gets away with it. It's unique. And you usually can't carry off this kind of tone unless you're really good. So she is really good. So she's able to do it. English poet Elizabeth Barrett Browning's swaddles are Napoleon Le Petit. I really like those words together because notice how she's extending that metaphor. The word swaddles is so good. And then she's really playing up that pun, which she has turned into a pun because that means Napoleon the Small. So it's really easy to compare him to a baby. in her letter asking him to pardon French writer Victor Hugo. Napoleon Le Petit exiled Hugo from the sandbox because Hugo refused to play the right way. Using flattery and imagery, Browning convinces Napoleon the Small to stop throwing his tantrum and invite Hugo to play again. Because babies love shiny things, Browning flashes these glittering words in front of Napoleon to occupy him. Look at how deftly she describes flattery. She keeps extending that metaphor, now applying it to like little flashy things that mothers flash in front of their babies. She twirls words like, "Ah, sire, you are great enough, and you can allow for the peculiarity of the poetical temperament before his eyes." Browning goes on to ask him to disprove him by your generosity, skillfully including another lustrous compliment in her petition. Napoleon's juvenile preoccupation with the ethereal niceties Browning is showering on him causes him to think that an action is inspired by him. Browning gives fresh meaning to the idiom, "all that glitters is not gold," because although everything she is writing is dazzling, she doesn't truly mean any of it. Children are not able to detect sarcasm effectively until age 8, so Napoleon Le Petit still has a way to go. So I hope you see the risk there. She's taking a basic psychological fact and she's being bold in that she's applying it to Napoleon Le Petit like he is a child lower than 8. But basically what she's really saying there is that even though Napoleon Le Petit is an adult person, he's doesn't have the mentality even of an 8-year-old. Dealing with infants can be very tiring, and a surefire way to occupy them is to place them in front of moving pictures. Again, look at how she works imagery in there. It's so smart. Browning employs this very visual tactic against our minuscule monarch. I really love that alliteration there and how she's using such good word choices. She shows him that let no tear of an admirer of poetry drop upon your purple to establish that this issue is not even worth soiling his divine robe over. She goes on to say, and I am driven by an irresistible impulse to your majesty's feet. Browning asserts that even the most undesirable part of a person becomes a magnet because it belongs to Napoleon. She knows that babies need this kind of attention. The reason why one of the first things a baby can do is cry is because the baby needs to draw attention to himself, since his communication is seriously lacking. It's only after hard work and years of development that we are able to understand what babies are saying. Pacifying children is not easy. Look at that incredible transition. It again extends the metaphor, and now we're at the conclusion. But using flattery and pretty pictures, Browning makes light work of it. She tells Napoleon Le Petit what a good boy he is and lets him watch his favorite show, The Everlasting Emperor. Now, notice how she just makes up a name of a show, but that's basically the impact these images would have on Napoleon. Not only does Browning display mastery in writing, but also an extensive understanding of child rearing. The fact that Browning has to diminish her characteristics to get through to him shows that it doesn't always promote development to speak plainly to a child. All I can say is hats off. She's done a great job, and hopefully you see that really cool technique that she used. And if you're ready for it, I would love to see some of you experiment with that technique. Thanks.